Hi and welcome to Real World Facilitation, where our mission is to put an end to boring meetings and workshops. Today I'm going to talk about the radar technique. It is one of the best facilitation sessions for strategy, review and development, anything that involves kind of assessing progress towards a strategy, a project, a program. It is absolutely brilliant for. And if you watch to the end, I'll tell you how you can get hold of our free copy of a load of brilliant techniques, including this one that you can use and have been tried and tested in the real world hundreds and hundreds of times. So the radar technique, well, at least that's what I call it, because it uses a radar chart. And it all starts with working out what are the topics, the headings, the themes, the pillars, loads of different words to describe the same thing, but what are the areas, the pillars, the themes, the topics that you want to explore? So if it's an organizational strategy, then typically there are a number of parts to that strategy, so those lend themselves really well to this. So that might be, we need to look at our people and our talent management. That might be one. Our progress towards our strategic growth targets, our marketing improvement, etc. So it can be anything. It might be project focused, it might be organizational focused. So you start either in the session by asking the group is the expert, getting them to tell you what are the topics, or, and I quite often do this, I will work in advance and talk to the sponsor, maybe even talk to the participants, depending on how many there are, and work out what those are likely to be in advance. If you do them live in the session, it will take a bit of time and you need to probably build in an exercise. It works well, the post-it grouping approach, where you get people to put ideas and thoughts and you group together and then vote on the priorities. That's in our guide, by the way, that you can find out how to get at the end of the video. That works well to come up with the topics or themes that you're going to explore. You're looking to get somewhere between, say, 5 and 8 headings, themes, topics to explore. It works really well at those levels. Once you have your themes, so what we're going to do is create a radar chart to capture those themes. So you're about to see what one of those is. I'm going to show you live. So what I start off with, you need some sort of straight edge for this, something that you can use. I never take anything to a workshop like I should, like a ruler or something, because it's always a bit of a hassle. But this magic whiteboard box, which we might talk about another time, but it's a great facilitator's tool. This works really well. And I'm going to assume I've got, let's say, 5 or 6. 6 is easy to do, so 6 topics. So I'm going to do a radar chart. So let's say I need a center of it, which I'm going to put here. You don't want to be doing this whilst the whole audience is watching you. So you're either doing it over a break, or if you already know that there are 6 headings in advance because you've done some work, then you can draw this up beforehand, which is a lot less hassle, and frankly it's not the most interesting thing to watch, is it? So the next thing you need, once you've got your 6 in our case here, is to make a scale. So there we have something of a scale. I've just tried to do it quickly, so I haven't got all 10, but you might have 10 points all the way down. The key is you've got some consistency when people do the next part. And here we are onto what we're going to do next, which is, if this is our theme 1, then very simply, we're going to ask our group, out of 10, where 10 is absolutely successfully achieved and done a brilliant job of this thing. So this might be people and talent if it was organizational, or it might be progress towards a particular objective of a project, who knows. But out of 10, where 10 is wonderful, how do we think we've done as an organization? Now, what we're looking for is obviously a number between 0 and 10. And we want to, importantly here, capture the reasons why people come up with the number that they do. So the number itself is a wonderful way of forcing a response, but obviously the bit that we really want to know about is, why do they believe that? So we might put people into small groups for this and have groups of 2 or 3 or 4, maybe 6 people, depending on the size of your event, talking about what their view is and why. And then your job as a facilitator is to bring together those answers. So you might have some differing opinion. That is the gold dust of this session, is that it doesn't matter that you've got differing opinion, because that is what you're here to talk about and to get a collectively agreed view. Because if you're talking with a leadership team or a project team or any group of people, it's really important that they have a good understanding of where we are now, which is what this is all about. So the conversation I will facilitate then is tell us your number, and that might be individuals giving me a number, or it might be a group giving me a number. So if it's individuals, by the way, I might give everyone a post-it and say, write down your view and why, and then we're going to share. So I really want to expose where the difference of opinions are. So I get them to tell me what the view is, and what I won't do is write down the first thing I hear. So the first score probably isn't the one you might land on, and of course the joy or downside of real world flip charts is quite difficult to change them once you've written on them, isn't it? Online, of course, you can play around a bit more. So importantly, I might say to them, so for theme 1, our progress towards our people strategy, the strategy sets out all the things we're trying to do. 10 out of 10 meant we've done them all and it's all brilliant. Where are we? And then the first person might say, well, I think we're a 7. And I'll say, why? And that's when they will share with, well, because we haven't done it in all places, not all teams, we've had a higher turnover rate than we might want, we need to work on that, etc. I'll then hear some other opinions, and what I will do in facilitating here, rather than go round to hear everybody's, I will ask, has anybody had a different perspective or a new point, a new reason? So we're trying to just summarise and quite quickly get to an answer. The group then might haggle a bit and say, well, I said 5, you said 7, so let's call it a 6. That's kind of okay because the number doesn't really matter. What matters is that I said it was a 7 because, and I'm going to capture their point, because our turnover is too high. So I'll capture that on the flip chart. Now we've got some useful information. And do we all agree or not on that? What are we doing about that, etc. And then I'm going to mark on here the point. So we said a 6. So I'm going to put a 6 for theme 1. Now that is what we do, and we repeat it. The value is in the conversation, not the numbers. So just remember that all the time. And we're going to repeat it for each of our themes until we have completed the whole lot. So let's just imagine we're doing that right now. So now we've completed that part. There's a little bit more of your artwork to do, which I'm going to do now. What I've done is join up those to make it a bit more visual. You can shade it in as well if you like. And what we've got here then is a bit of a picture of the group's view of where we are now on our project, organisation strategy, whatever you're covering. This is really useful for the future. So you can keep this in the write-up. It's a great thing to come back to in 3 months, 6 months, and test whether or not we feel the same about it. So it gives you a kind of baseline. So it's really handy from that perspective. Remember, once you've got all your points that we've captured as we went through this conversation, those should form part of the report with this diagram. Now you can stop there, and that gives you a really good picture of progress and a really good shared understanding of the team of where we are today. The next step, if you want to take it on and to start to look more to prioritisation, the future strategizing, is to repeat the exercise, but this time you ask the group, what number do we need to be in? And it's useful to have a time frame, 6 months, a year, ideally not too far away. If you get too far away, then everyone says 10 out of 10. And what you want to do is to try to get the group to be a bit more mindful of priority by giving it by not giving everything a 10 out of 10. So it's helpful in that regard to have a time frame that's not so far away that you could achieve it all. So I'd go around and have the same kind of conversation in small breakouts potentially, or as a single group. If it's a small up to 10 people group, I might just have the conversation in one group, and I want to know, what should the score be? So at this point, let's use a green. So we might say for theme 1, our people and strategy, I think we said it was, let's say we get the group to say it needs to be an 8, and then the real conversation is, what is it we are going to do in this gap? What needs to happen to bridge that gap? So this is where they'll say, well, we said it was turnover was too high, and that was why we only gave it a 6. So we need Staff turnover is too high, so we need, I don't know, a retention plan. We need a staff survey. Who knows? I'm making these things up as you go along, but those are the kinds of things that you might see in that gap that need to be done. You can do that all the way around until you've got a picture of where you'd like to be, and then you might have a different overlay, for example, here where you want to see you can't get higher than a 10. There you go. So you might have a different overlay for the future. Really nice visual again, but of course the key is that the approach with the numbers, with being specific with people about where we need to be in terms of a number, forces them to think about what needs to happen and what that looks like. And that's the richness of the conversation. A collective view, all agreed, using a radar chart. Fantastic model. I've used it hundreds of times, and it's brilliant for getting a team of people to have a collective picture or view of where we are now and where we need to go next. If you'd like to know more about this radar technique or a whole load of other techniques that we've got for you, we've just put together our brand new guide for 2022 with a whole load of techniques that work brilliantly for running facilitated sessions. They're tried and tested. They will work brilliantly every time. And we give you a step-by-step guide as to how to go through them. All you've got to do is to click on the link below to get your free copy. Good luck in your workshops.